my fellow artists and crafters. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be unboxing, swatching, and doing a little painting illustration with the Derwent Chromaflow Color Pencils. So let's just jump right on in. We're all very familiar with Derwent, the legacy company, the great pencil maker. We've had several different items come through the channel made by Derwent, and this is another one. Here we have the tin. It is a two-part tin. It is unhinged. The front says Derwent Chromaflow, vibrant, blendable color, smooth, creamy laydown, premium core strength that can handle pressure. There is images of what the pencils look like here, and there's a beautiful illustration of a tiger by Kinsey Lane. I love the fact that they put the artist's name on there. I'm assuming that this is the same thing in a different language. It says 24 pencils or crayons, as they are sometimes called. Flipping it over on the back, Derwent, drawn to perfection, Chromaflow, professional quality, achieve exceptional color saturation with rich pigments and bold colors. Rely on pencils that last longer due to less breakage when sharpening and in use. Enjoy consistent quality for every project, every time. DerwentArt.com. It tells you again who the illustration is created by. It lets you know that the pencils are made in the UK. Yeah. And then there's this code here. I'm not sure. Let's see if we can peel that off. And the rest of the information says that it carries the AP seal of approval, conforms to ASTM 4236 regulation for USA only, made in Britain. So the pencils are made in Britain. And again, you have emulation of what the pencils look like. Let's go ahead. Tin opens pretty easily. I've already stuffed a card in there, a little piece of mixed media paper in there to do my swatching for this tin. The inside of the tin says, with a heritage dating back to 1832, Derwent's innovation comes from a deep understanding of the needs and requirements of artists. Perfecting the art of pencil manufacturing in the Lake District for generations, our wide range of pencils is synonymous with quality and craftsmanship. Artistry is threaded through the core of every Derwent product to deliver world-class artist materials at every stage of the creative journey. And then it says it again in another language. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's crack these bad babies open. Take a look at what we have. As you can see, it is covered in plastic. Okay, get these open. And here we have 12 pencils on top in a tray, 12 pencils on the bottom in a tray, and then the tin. Now, those trays actually aren't super flimsy, but I would assume that if it was a longer tray, it probably would be. I think they have a little bit more stability because they're small and there's only 12 pencils per tray. Let's take a look at the pencil itself. Here we have a circular barrel, which means they will be prone to rolling. It lets you know the name of the company in the pencil, Derwent Chromaflow. It lets you know that it's made in Britain. The barrel gives you the number for the color as well as the color name. That's all the information listed on the barrel. There is a color chip on the end of the pencil, and the pencil itself is domed. So we will have to do some sharpening tests to tell whether or not the lid is actually centered in that barrel. And that's pretty much it. You get a range of 12 colors, which looks pretty good here. I'm sorry, 24 colors, which looks pretty good here now. There is no light fast information included on the pencil or on the particular packaging, but they are Derwent pencils, so my assumption would be that they are light fast. I will be sure to check all of that information on the website for you guys before I get around to offering a review in the next week or so. So that's, I mean, straightforward. That's what the pencils look like. There's not a lot of hemming and hawing to it. Not a lot of information to look at. So next I want to just jump into actually swatching the pencils. So we're going to get them swatched, and then we're definitely going to do a little painting with them. But for the time being, I'm trying to see, do I want to... No, I'm not going to. I was trying to think whether I was going to use my little swatching stamp, but I think I'm just going to go for the jugular here and just swatch the pencils out. Now, they're in a kind of odd order, so I'm more than likely going to put these in rainbow order first, and then I'm going to swatch them. So let me go ahead and do that, and then for you, it'll be just a second to jump into the swatching. All right, jumping into the swatching here, guys. Of course, I normally play some music at this point in the video and let you guys kind of watch the swatching, but been having a few issues on that end, and I don't want to end up with any copyright strikes from YouTube. I'm trying to make sure that I follow all of their guidelines, community guidelines. And I think it's kind of funny, in all honesty. If you're a content creator, you may know this already, but even royalty-free music sometimes will get flagged with a copyright strike from YouTube. And although they'll tell you that it doesn't count against you, just seeing the word copyright anything on my videos in my YouTube studio really bothers me. So I'm trying to prevent that. So the colors that we're swatching out, I figured I'd tell you all of the colors that are in the set since I didn't go through them. Sun yellow, amber gold, golden sun are the yellows. Then you have flame, which is more of your orange tone. There's scarlet, strawberry, which are reds, Simon, and then blush pink are more of your pink tones. You have a magenta, lilac, and violet, which is your purple violet tones. Denim, which is more of your dark blue, your regular blue, and then a light blue as well. There's a turquoise green, turquoise green, basil, foliage, grass green. So there's 4 greens in the 24 count set. So landscape may be good for landscapes. There's a burnt sienna, raisin, and natural brown. Those are your earth tones. You have a platinum, which is more like a silverish gray. Then there's black and white. And from the swatching, you could see that the black was pretty saturated, and the white, surprisingly enough, left something to be desired. That was really surprising, considering, you know, the experience I was having with the pencils just from immediately swatching them. I know I threw up that little wording at the bottom of the screen earlier about how soft they are, because they really, really, really are. I did putting up some blending here. I like to blend colors. I like to blend pencils, see if I can make new colors, see how well they'll work if I only had, you know, a couple of pencils here or there, instead of, what if I didn't have 24 pencils, you know? Like, what if I only had 3 colors, or what if I only had 5 colors, or maybe 10 colors? And, you know, I'm just throwing numbers out. I really like to test pencils to see if they don't blend well enough, the pigments are strong enough to create new colors. And I'll be honest, they didn't fail. They didn't disappoint at all. Now here I'm doing a blending ball, using 3 of the primaries. I'm using a magenta, I'm using the sun yellow, if I'm not mistaken, and then I'm using the blue. It's just called blue. And the great thing about these pencils, I think I may have mentioned this before, I really like the fact that they have like 2 forms of identification on it. There's like the pencil number, and then there's also the color name. Unfortunately, there's no light fast information. Derwent, I need y'all to do something about that. I mean, you guys are like a leading pencil company, a leading art brand. I think that you could put the light fast ratings on your pencil sets. I do not think that that is Definitely not too much to ask. I mean, of course, I don't know how much it would cost to do that considering how many pencils you guys produce on a regular basis. But, just a suggestion from a loyal customer who, has a lot of your products and really do recommend a lot of them. I really say, hey, if you hear this at any point ever, consider putting the light, fast ratings on the pencils or on the packs for the pencils. Thanks, guys. You can see that blender ball turned out okay. I love these colors. This is a really nice set of pencils, guys. And this is just from me swatching and doing some blending testing. But anywho, let's just move on with the video. I have completed the preliminary test that I normally do with a set of color pencils. So now we've gone through the unboxing, and I typically do this stuff off screen, but I decided to do it on screen with you guys other than just the swatching. I still need to do the mineral spirits test there, but outside of that, I'm gonna be honest, I really like these pencils so far. They are so soft and creamy. I mean, just right off the bat, I think these are going to give Prismacolor a run for their money. But let's jump into doing a quick illustration demo with them before we wrap the video on up for today. After having a chance to swatch out the pencils and actually do a little blending and mixing test, see how they moved in a couple of the other different tests that I normally perform off camera, but I did decide to do them on camera. I picked a couple of colors because I thought it would be really cool to try to do one of the sort of silhouette landscape, simple, straightforward paintings that you guys see me do when I'm testing watercolor pencils for the first time. So I decided to try to do that with the colored pencils. And this is honestly my first colored pencil landscape, just like from scratch, so to speak. I picked a couple of different colors. The amber gold, flame. I'm using the violet. I'm going to be using the denim, which is a dark blue. I'm going to use the white. I think those are the only colors that I used. Oh, and I also used the blush pink. So I started at the very top with the blush pink, and then I took the amber gold and colored all the way from the top to the bottom, covering that blush pink. I grabbed some Gamsol, which is an odorless mineral spirit, normally used in color pencils to sort of break down the wax and help to lay the pigment down into the paper, allowing you to have more tooth to add color pencil on top of. And then, of course, these are super soft pencils, so they're going to lay down over other pencils really easily. I got that to the consistency, and I'm saying consistency, but really the texture, because of course the colored pencil sort of left a rough texture, and the Gamsol smooths it out, makes it almost like a painting. So I wanted that background to be sort of flat. Now I'm going in with grass green, which I didn't name when I originally named the colors. I apologize about that, but I used grass green in order to start drawing in my little landmass. Now, I started with sort of like an angled V, and then I would go back and add in the next row of grassy land patch behind it and sort of blend those two together. That way I was creating a separation in that land, and it would look like the river that I am aiming to paint here is flowing through. Now, that brings me to the point of why I'm painting the river. I was looking for something to paint along with trying to figure out what to do with the pencils. And I decided to jump back over to Doodle Wash's prompt list for August of 2023. And of course, the prompt for today was river. And it gave me a perfect opportunity to sort of try to use these pencils in that landscape form. And you guys know I like trying new things, and this was something new for me. Once I got the green grass patches or land mask in the way I wanted, I went back in with the denim, which is a dark blue, and I used that to start shading in the lower grass area of those land patches. I'm gonna go back in on top of that with that same grass green that I used for the base layer when it's all said and done, because I want to turn that darker area into a saturated green and not just leave it like that dark blue. You'll see me continue to move up towards what eventually becomes my horizon line. I wasn't sure exactly how to pull this off. I was just really kind of going for the gusto, so to speak, just kind of painting by feel, memory with other mediums that I used. And I took a lot of the things that I would do with like a watercolor pencil and brought them over to doing this landscape with the colored pencils. And some of the techniques work pretty much the same. The only difference is I'm not blending these out with water. I'm going to actually use the varnish, excuse me, in order to blend the pencils. The only time I used the Gamsol was to make sure that the background was blended and flat. Now, the landmass that is the closest to us, that's what I'm actually trying to say, I decided to do that one mostly in the dark blue color because, of course, the closer it came to us, the more shadow it would have in a quote-unquote silhouette painting. So I did that, and then I went back in with the grass green to add in just another row of grass behind that landmass. I really wanted the river to sort of be winding through and coming to the foreground. Once I was satisfied with that, up until that point anyway, I'm going to do some more to the river. After I finished the sky, I jumped into doing the sky, and I'm really not making like real clouds. I'm just kind of angling my pencil and etching in the indication of a cloud. I'm making the colors in my sky area more saturated, especially towards the top, since the top of the sky would definitely be darker. I'm going in with a violet, and that violet is what I use to sort of shade in the shadow areas of the cloud. I thought that purple or violet would stand out really well against the yellow. Well, of course, we know they will because they're opposite and they make each other shine. So once I had that shadow in, I went back in again with just the different colors that I have been using in the sky. And I'm going back and forth with the blending until I can see a definite difference between where the sky ends and the water starts. So without making it like too obvious, I wanted it to seem like, the water just ran so far in the background that, it just kind of disappeared into the sky. I used a little white in order to add some light to the sky. Now, the white that came in the Chromaflow set was not as saturated as I needed it to be, which is surprising considering the pigment payoff of these pencils. So I did grab a Prismacolor white pencil in order to add in the light or the white that I needed in the sky. And you're going to see me really blend heavily. I'm going to be using a lot of pressure every single time I use the white pencil because I really want it to kind of stand out against that saturated color. But I hem and hawed, and I went back and forth with the sky until eventually I was at a point where I felt like I could move on. I'll be completely honest, I was not completely satisfied with the way the sky turned out. But overall, once the composition was said and done, I feel like it did sit well with the illustration. Now I'm drawing in the I'm drawing in the land mass that is the closest to us, and I'm using the dark blue for that. I do believe that I eventually go back in with the green color pencil again in order to make this more of a saturated green color up front. But for the most part, it's really dark, done with the dark blue. Put in that little land mass. I'm going to sketch in a couple of evergreens just to give some balance on both sides of the foreground. And then I'm going to throw in a couple of grasses as well. I think this is where I'm going back in with the green in order to turn it into that saturated green. And it's a really great technique. There's only 24 of these pencils. I do believe that the color range is much larger at this point, but for this set, they do blend together really well. I'm actually really impressed. I'm throwing in some little grasses here up front, and then I'm taking that white Prismacolor pencil and I'm adding in the white or the light to the actual where the river is pooling in the foreground from where it's really cool. The bank, should I say? Yeah, the bank of the river. I really enjoyed this, guys. I mean, I'm talking through this as I do it, but I'm looking back at it. It definitely doesn't look as bad as I thought it did. For my first attempt at doing a landscape completely in color pencil. So, it turned out okay. I'm throwing in some shadow with that green color. I decided not to use the blue to add the shadow. I used the original green that I used to base in that, and threw in some shadow in the water. I'm throwing some birds in the sky using that dark blue. I didn't use black at all. Actually, I just used the dark blue. Once I used the pencil to get the secondary shadow, secondary highlights, and the white that reflected from the sky, I went back in with some bleed proof white. And what I'm doing with that bleed proof is I'm adding in my waterline, and I'm adding in sparkles in the water, so like it would glisten if light hit it. Real cool. Doing some little highlights on the grasses, the very top of the trees that will be reflecting light. I just think it added something to it. It really kind of brought it to life. This is a really simple, straightforward landscape that is impactful, I believe, because you definitely get the point. It's done all in color pencil, which for a non-color pencil artist, I was a little okay with it. I made a black border like I normally do. And then what I'm going to do is actually just remove the tape around the area that I did the illustration. I'm going to leave the tape blocked off on the opposite side because I plan on doing a couple of other illustrations, and I'm going to use that particular section up. I use an X-Acto knife to cut that tape in half, just in case you guys are wondering how I got that off like that. And you'll see me use the X-Acto knife in other areas in order to just cut through the tape. Now, I'm not using a lot of pressure because I only want to cut through the tape and not through the actual paper itself. I'm going to peel back all of this tape in order to reveal the white of the paper, so you guys can really get in its full glory, should I say, what it looks like with the tape removed. And then that's pretty much going to wrap this particular section of the video up. That to me was a lot of fun, guys. It has really been fun playing with this product. The unboxing was cool. I even enjoyed the swatching, getting the gradient in the layers for the swatches so I could see how saturated the color could become depending on the pressure that you used, all the way over to the blending, and then down to the silhouette, well, sort of silhouette type landscape I did. You guys see me, like I said, in the actual demo, I've played off of this type of style of, painting with the watercolor pencils, and this is the very first one I've ever done with color pencils, and I'm so glad I attempted it. And hopefully, if you're like new to color pencils, if you're wondering if color pencils is something that you want to try, hopefully something like this, tackling a concept or illustration like this, will give you a little bit more confidence with knowing that it doesn't have to be super extravagant. It can still be pretty simple and straightforward. It'll portray the ideal that you're trying to portray, and it'll actually turn out to be a really cool painting. I see a lot of paintings like this in shops for like wall decor. So yeah, guys, hopefully you picked up on some tips, tricks, or techniques for color pencils in this video that you're going to find helpful, that you're going to be able to apply to your own art journey. If so, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you're returning, hit that notification bell. Consider sharing the video, because sharing is caring. But again, I ask, guys, like the video and tell a friend. Send a friend this way. If you don't share the video, that's fine. Send a friend this way. Let them know about the art channel. Tell them to come and subscribe so they can join us here. Keep in mind that the video description is going to have all of the relevant links. Paints, Pencils, Pastels, and Markers is the Facebook group that we sponsor. All artists and crafters are welcome there. Wonderful group and community of people who are starting to share and engage with each other, and I'm trying to encourage that more. So come join us. You can check out the link for the most recommended products, which I try to update at least once a month. It's time for me to get in there and update it again. But those are going to be great quality products that are not going to really bust your pocket wide open. And then, of course, there's also the link for the Etsy shop. If you decide you want to support the channel, that'll be a wonderful way to do it, so I can continue to bring you guys all of this free content. And I do periodically upload new things to the Etsy shop as I get them made and they become available. There should definitely be things up by Sunday. With that said, thank you guys so much for joining me here. It has been a blast shooting this video today. I will see you guys back here on Sunday. And remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, just keep painting and crafting.